Securities, Corruption, and Accountability. The survey results were pretty interesting, pretty in line with bigger surveys that have been done over the country. More than half of you guys say, yes, I trust the police, I trust what they say to me. 2 of you were more neutral, the rest of you not so much. So, pretty in line. This is what we're glossing over. Don't pay attention to the word that say weird. So, I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm not afraid of terrorists whatsoever. I'm not. Because, according to the FBI's own reports that come out every single year, you're 58 times more likely to be killed by a police officer than a terrorist. The sad part of that is that the real number is likely much higher, because those FBI reports that are sent in by all the different police stations, only about half of them actually report. There's no legislation or rules that say that they have to say all the things that happened with them. It's a little over 900 people every year that are killed that we know of. They can also legally lie to you, which has been upheld time and time again by Fatal Cup, which is a Supreme Court decision that's actually pretty old now, 1969. So, I don't know about you guys, but I grew up in Southern California, and when you have a Mexican-sounding last name, you don't want to ever talk to cops. I've had my friends threaten to be deported. People that have been born in the U.S., lived there their whole life, never even been to Mexico. It's not a fun time sometimes. A lot of you, judging by those statistics in the survey, probably haven't had as much as me. Not bragging, but that's okay. As soon as I moved here, I learned what all the different laws and that kind of thing were for Minnesota versus California, which are very different. So what's the problem? Let's narrow this down a little bit here. So there's 4 points that I think are the biggest thing to address right now. If you guys have ever heard of the thin blue line, or professional courtesy, cops don't get other cops in trouble. I was at the government center yesterday. I tried to talk to some police officers about this, and none of them would, but that's okay. I did talk to another man yesterday virtually. His name is Mike, and he's an ex-cop who runs a section of Reddit that I go to on occasion, and this is kind of thing number 1. So police will cover for other police. Perjury is a very big deal right now. So I have a little story to tell you guys. The police happened upon an extremely drunk man passed out in his car. The car was running, and they wake him up by pounding on the doors and windows. And they get him out of the car, and he can't even walk. He doesn't understand anything of what they're telling him, not following directions, nothing like that. So they throw him in the back of their car for a DUI, which makes sense. That's what they should do. But once they run all of his information, they discovered he was a police officer from a neighboring county. At that point, the video gets a little fuzzy that KARE 11 was able to get because they turned off all their audio recorders. They took his phone, found him somebody that would come pick him up and let him go without being charged whatsoever. That happened in Blaine this year. There's a lot of stories like this. Lots of them. So, thing number 1, that's what we're going to get rid of. The second problem is the police hiring and training practices that are currently going on, and Mike was able to shed a little bit more light on this. There have been quite a few different departments that have been sued over their hiring practices because they were looking for people that scored low on the IQ tests. ABC News did a really good story on it, and to this day it's still legal technically. They're also trained that everyone is out to get them. Everybody. Doesn't matter, police safety is a huge issue. Now you would think, okay, well police is a dangerous job. Somebody's got to do it, there's all kinds of crazy people out there. What if I told you a police officer is nowhere close to the #1 dangerous job in America? It's not top 10, it's not even top 15, it's number 16. Fishermen, your garbage man has a more dangerous job than they do, based off statistics by Ranker. The third point I have here, accountability. So, just remember kind of how many people die every year by the police. Since 2005, only 54 officers have been charged with excessive force-related crimes. According to the Huffington Post, they went and found every single one of them. 12 of them were guilty, all with less than 10-year sentences. 19 of them are still pending though, so we'll see what happens with that. So, the last point I have to make as part of the problem are unjust laws. The war on drugs, honestly, it's been a huge failure, and there are many statistics to back that up. The U.S. Bureau of Justice Statistics says that the majority of crimes of the people that are in prison right now is drug-related. There's, of course, way less murder than there are drug crimes. So, with our 1% of the adult population in jail, that's worse than North Korea. North Korea has less people in jail per area than we do. Kind of silly. So who's affected by all this? Obviously all of us. A much more disproportionate number of us, though, belong to the Hispanic and African American communities. But the amount of people of the population that we as Hispanics and African Americans make up, there's a huge disproportionate number of those people in jail right now. Much higher. So, how do we fix this? That's kind of a complicated answer. Stanford University in 1999 they published a really good paper with some things that need to change for this issue to get better. So the number one thing is the hiring and training. Obviously we would like cops who are good, who know the laws, who understand the people that they're working with, that are in the communities. And they need stricter screening and incentives. I'm not talking like quotas or anything like that, but good incentives when they do good work, promotions, and that kind of thing. And the paper also specifically mentioned demilitarizing the police. Some random little town in Ohio shouldn't have an armored vehicle that's mine resistant. It doesn't make sense. So we got to get rid of all that, because when the police have toys, they will use them. Accountability. Oh, look, the title. So, to both the public and the superiors, you should be able to talk to people and get honest answers. And if somebody misbehaves, they should, of course, be held accountable, punished, charged, whatever. So, that's the persecution for their crimes. Credibility. So, I really wanted to survey you guys again after I showed my video, but the cops that I talked to were lying to me. I doubt that they were that ignorant of the law. They were lying. So, how do we stop this? Body cameras. 1 out of 8 of the police officers I talked to was wearing a body camera. And even then, I haven't gotten the footage from it yet. Doesn't happen. And, of course, the laws. So, the reclassification of many of the drugs in America is kind of thing number one. But the other thing that you can personally do is learn about jury nullification. The Constitution specifically gives us a way to mess with this. If you get called onto a jury and a guy is going to go to jail because he was in possession of marijuana, even if there's 100% no doubt in your mind that he did it, he's guilty, you can vote not innocent if you think that law is unjust. You can go for anything. So they have a whole website, the Freedom of, I forget the acronym, but the Fully Informed Jury Association, that's the one. They have a whole website on that. It's really cool stuff. So, will Stanford's plan work? It was based off of the most trustworthy police departments by a gigantic survey done in 2014 by Ipsos. And surprisingly, India was at the top of the list for their people trusting their police department, because they did all of those things that Stanford analyzed and said to do. We are here. That number is pretty, that's 1 out of 3 people in America, according to their survey, would trust their police officers. That number was pretty high because we're a younger demographic, but as you get older, that's where it starts to fall, according to that same survey. So what can you do specifically? These are kind of, we'll start really basic, just record things. If there's a third party, great. There's 2 really good apps. The first one's Bambuser, the little beat, and all it does is live stream whatever's on your camera. That's it. So if your camera gets broken somehow, or confiscated, or whatever, doesn't matter, you can hop online and grab your video. Cell 411 is kind of the same sort of thing, but as opposed to calling the police if there's something that happens, you can use Cell 411 and done. Other people can come to your aid. local events and getting involved in your community, of course. It's always good to know what's going on. Asserting your rights. First learn about what they are. Voting for people that have proven records of helping with this problem. There's only one that I know of in the current presidential race. Being in the jury, and grabbing a permit to carry to protect yourself. Okay. Alright, so if we do nothing, we're going to lose our rights more and more, just like Germany did in World War II, which was kind of more analyzed by the Milgram experiment, and we will turn into some kind of dictatorship or fascist regime. These are all places where I can currently be executed for my political or religious beliefs. So no, I will not go on vacation there. Good thing to mention.
Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I will not go to Saudi Arabia until a lot of things change. Alright, so, I know I'm getting killed right now. Gonna skip a little bit here. Just kind of recap, problem, who it affects, solutions, what you can do if we do nothing. I think I hit all those pretty good. My story's not over. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with my video. And I'll leave you with a quote that Mike said, is a good cop still a good cop when he stands idly by as bad things, as bad cops do bad things? And here's a lot of sources.